Wait. Before you come any closer, I must ask, what is the passcode? Now cleanse yourself in the cauldron. There. Now I must know who has sent you. Tamsin sent you. The Tamsin. How is that old hag? You know, from one old hag to another. What's she doing in this incarnation? You know, I haven't seen that old cow since 1663. Oh, you met in soul cycle class. You're her acolyte? Interesting. You seem like a stray Tamsin would rescue from a back alley somewhere. Why is she? Why are you pestering me? One moment. Has Tamsin sent this agent to me? So far, your story checks out. And what is the intention behind this visitation? I see. Tamsin is working on a potion, and she needs my help. How do I know both of you aren't in cahoots with Big Pharma? Honey, that's what they all say. We'd never work for Big Pharma. They get us all eventually, or just our work. Sit down. Let me fix you something to drink. You're in luck. I just brewed some of my house tea. I was quite the prolific potion maker in my day. We all were. A lot of good that did. So, what I'm about to show you, this is why you should steer clear of Big Pharma. Where did I put my keys? Not in the cloche. Oh, here they are. Yes, this is the reason you should steer clear of big pharma. I haven't opened this box in quite a very long time. You see this? All of these were originally our formulas. This right here was originally my formula. And this one, this is actually called Asherah's Ashes. That's what Gulveg called it when she brewed it in her kitchen. You know how much revenue Lizer Corporation made from Gulveg's formula? Higher. Even higher. No less than $1 trillion. Huh. And this one, they got this one all wrong. They flubbered this formula. Couldn't even plagiarize properly. This one is infuriating on so many levels. They named it for the witch who invented it. It's as if their consciences got the best of them in some way. Oh, poor Allegra. I'm sure she never got over that. Can't imagine she brews much anymore. You know why witches are forced to live in hovels like this one? Because we practice a lot of crafts, but the crafts of price gouging and profiteering are not in our vocabulary. Take this one. You know what it cost to produce a bottle of this in a witch's kitchen? Yes, in modern money. Less than 34 cents. I can't even imagine how much cheaper it can be produced in a factory. Whoa, whoa. Whoa, Nellie. You knocked. I allowed you to come in. I didn't invite you. You just showed up here. And you're justifying all of this. All of this. Really? You think these are more effective? You think these companies create more jobs, produce more medicine so more people can benefit? People shouldn't have to pay anything for medicine, for healing. It's a free gift from nature. Do you know how to make aspirin? No, it's even simpler. You just gently cut away a piece of birch bark, put it in your mouth, and chew. If you prefer it as a tincture, you can put it in a jar with some vodka, soak it, let it steep for a few days, and then have 1 tablespoon 3 times a day to stave off many an ailment. And they didn't just do that to aspirin. They did the same thing with the sacred marijuana plant. They persecuted the dispensers of the sacred herb until they could figure out how to control the market. You want to know something? Praise Circe. Joke's on them. None of these potions actually work. Sure, they alleviate a headache or some indigestion for a few hours, but they don't heal the soul. The real sources of pain are brittle, damaged, dehydrated, malnourished souls. Don't ever touch any of these medicaments. They are cursed. They are adulterated by the contagion of the deity. What these companies didn't understand is that holy objects should never be removed from a holy place. This is what our ancestors suffered the Black Virgin and the Iron Maiden for. It's a crime against all of humanity. Let me tell you the story. The story of the mothers of medicine. Get comfortable, because it's a sad, tragic, disturbing one. If you're not going to drink this, I will. In the days before Science was born, the mothers of the world walked through the forests by day and by moonlight, gathering with much gratitude the healing gifts of nature. They gathered round the healing fires of knowledge and listened with the ears of their souls for the plants to reveal their secrets. After the chores were done and the kids had been tucked in, they resumed their experiments in search for the cures. Cures for the common cold, the flu, coughs, cholera, dysentery, bruises of the mind. They were searching for nothing short of an elixir to cure the pains of human hearts and souls. Through much trial and error, they discovered that chamomile chases away anxiety and ushers in sleep, that lavender refreshes the mood and energy levels and helps the hair to grow. Milk thistle fends off disease, eases the stomach, and preserves youth. And calendula, marigold, heals wounds. over time, they learned how to join these elements for even more potent and targeted effects. After brewing each miracle cure, we witches clanked our goblets and toasted to humans' health. As much as our services were needed, they were feared. And as you know, rumors spread, and they attempted to defame our work and misrepresent us, casting us out, painting us as poisoners, cursers, homewreckers, devil lovers, and misandrists. And over time we were pushed deeper and deeper and deeper into the forest. So many abandoned the trade. But the truly brave persisted as pariahs on the periphery of society, determined to help heal the wounded. We devoted ourselves to trying to find cures for the pains of the soul, and to find cures for many of the wounds that afflict humanity. Diseases of the mind and the spirit. And cast out, as we were, in secrecy, the wounded still came to us, because there are many, many wounded. And they brought to us humble, heartfelt offerings for our services. Churned butter, homespun blankets and dresses, and feather-down pillows, as well as leftovers from last night's dinner. Often this was the only compensation we received for our services. As devoted as we were to our patients. Don't forget to take your honeysuckle tincture 3 times daily. We would remind our patients as they slinked out the back door and crept through the woods and back to town. I was living and practicing the craft in a cottage on the outskirts of Hartford. There were 39 of us at that time in Greater Hartford, our coven. Legitimate witches, I mean. Not posers, attention seekers, and wannabes. Your alleged mentor, Tamsin, was among us, as you most likely know. And we'd meet sometimes twice a week to exchange recipes, trade herbs, and barter for basic necessities. Most of us were living off the fumes of our passion for medicine. That and a loaf of bread, a dozen eggs, and half a chicken a week. Normally Tamsin was quiet during those meetings. That's how she should have stayed. We had been discussing for some time, whinging and complaining really, about how slow our progress on some formulas had been. You see, you can only do so much and produce so many potions and elixirs with limited equipment and supplies. I guess you could say we got a little too ambitious. Tamsine had a fire in her. A fire in her belly. So after years of silent nodding and agreeing, she piped up one night in her gentle whispery voice. Why don't we do a Kickstarter Patreon campaign to raise the money we need for the new equipment and a larger plot of land? That's what we need to develop our healing potions in large enough quantities to heal all of humankind's pains and afflictions. Somehow she drummed up enough delusion and enthusiasm to get the rest of us to action that. Off she and the other witches went into Hartford proper, petitioning the people of the town for donations, posting signs, explaining their new passion project, and making big promises to get them on board. They raised a little money here and there, maybe a few hundred, I don't remember, and it kept them motivated to keep going. Against all of my warnings and some omens and premonitions from the other witches. Well, on that campaign target date, we had all gathered at Lacosta's cottage. The other witches were deflated, casting a spell to usher in that last $700 and something they needed to buy the land they were convinced they needed. When in the middle of the night, in the middle of that spell, the fields around Lacosta's cottage lit up like a parade. Lights moving closer and closer. And because their hearts were so set on that land and that equipment, the other witches looked out and saw an answer to their spells. They cheered, they clanked special occasion goblets. They watched from every window as the villagers approached the cottage. They were carrying torches. Of course, it was night, so of course, but they were also carrying crosses and thick vellum books. Surely they've come to donate to our fundraising campaign, most of the coven exclaimed, but a terror swept over me, and I ran around the cottage shouting at the others to put on their amulets of invisibility and make haste to cast the circle of protection. Several others were panicking and sounding alarms along with me, but we couldn't be heard over the cheers and toasts. I tried to cast the circle myself, but the energies were against me. And before I could cast a spell, the villagers were at the door. "Don't open it," I remember screaming. But it was Lacosta's cottage, and she had dominion over it. To her credit, I think they would have rammed the door down if she hadn't opened it. And who knows what kind of violence would have ensued. And what else would have been lost if we'd resisted. No matter what, they still would have burnt the whole cottage and Lacosta's laboratory to the ground, no matter what we did. Maybe we would have all died right there in a stampede instead. Instead of being arrested, accused of a host of false charges like medical malpractice, practicing sorcery. You know how that all went. Sentenced and executed. We believed everything had been destroyed in those fires. Oh, they didn't just stop with Lacosta's cottage. It seemed all of our sacred books and notes of recipes and formulas, records of our experiments, had been burned, then doused with buckets of holy water used to cleanse our properties before they were sold off by the town council. At the trials, some of those books were used to convict us. We tried to explain our altruistic mission. It was all in vain. For over 200 years, we witches have mourned the lost knowledge, the knowledge that went up in flames that night. Spell books that were burnt in those fires. The fires that would consume Abigail and Agatha first. We lamented that we would never find the cures. And were perplexed by why humans would want suffering to continue. For many generations to come, we, our kind, would be forced to live even more isolated lives. Most are terrified, have been ever since, of attending Sabbath or coven. So we must practice in secrecy, heavily cloaked secrecy, passing on our knowledge in hushed whispers to our daughters through channels of super secret societies. I know a few have done their best to remember and record what they could of the recipes and formulas. We did our best in our next incarnations to recall what we could of the secrets revealed to us by the plants. But it felt like it had all been lost. This is where things get really crazy. I was living outside of Savannah in my next life. I was the neglected wife of a plantation owner. That's where I was when I first learned of all of this, when the news reached me. In that incarnation, I believed this sacred wisdom had perished So I turned my attention to the pains of slavery and was attending abolitionist meetings in secret. And it was at one of those meetings that I learned of their theft. One of the ladies in the group had just come back from New Orleans and was passing around a tonic that she claimed would cure stomach troubles. Well, one whiff of that tonic, labeled Dr. Stevens' salve, Dr. Stevens' stomach salve. And I knew that, I recognized that as Avenora's prized potion, so cleverly named Tiamat's treat, for women's troubles. Oh no, this was no coincidence. You better believe I did my research and found out where Violette Lacroix got that tonic. I went to New Orleans myself. I couldn't believe my eyes. I almost collapsed in the threshold of that apothecary, whatever they called it then. Drugstore, pharmacia. And that was even before I registered the extent of the theft. The mercy of Minerva. The prices on those elixirs. Oh, it was as if every spell had been lifted straight from every page of our sacred books, mixed with who knows what and what unholy manner, and churned out, and who knows which way, irreverently, coarsely stacked on those shelves. And don't get me started on those labels. Oh, the claims, the tonic ingredients, the salacious images. I traced that pharmacist lineage, and yes, you guessed it, straight back to Hartford. Those liars, hypocrites, and frauds, they knew those recipes. They knew what those recipes were. And it's only gotten worse. The stars only know what they did to our sacred potions. Synthetic potions with invented names, trying to sound all scientific and respectable now. I mean, what could be more scientific than nature? As if what we were doing wasn't science. Science. Do you know what science means? No. The actual word. It means knowledge. And that, my dear, is why we witches do not practice openly and do not get involved with scientists, pharmacists, and big pharma. Stay away from it. You tell Tamsin whoever she is in this incarnation. And whatever she's doing with this life, you tell her that I may or may not have the vaccine she's looking for. If there's anything I've learned in these lifetimes, it's that. How did I know she's looking for the vaccine? Please, what else would she be working on? If there's anything I've learned about the craft, it's that you don't tell anyone what you have until you have a patent on it. Well, I hope you learned something this evening. And I do wish you a safe trip back to wherever it is that you're going. Oh, but before you go, just 2 more nutritious morsels of advice. 1, don't waste your time making potions and casting spells. There's no money in it. There's no glory, joy, or reward either. Besides, the craft has evolved. It's much wiser to learn how to code. Hone your hacking skills. Develop an app. That's where the real magic happens. That's where the real power is these days. And if you do decide, for whatever reason, maybe some delusion, to follow the old path, remember that the most essential spirit of a witch is self-reliance. Fierce self-reliance. When you have confidence in your own powers, you can't get bamboozled by essential oil charlatans. Anyway, what joy is there in taking the easy way out and buying someone else's potions? And you don't even know what they're putting in them, do you? You're better off just concocting them yourself. All right, before you go, let's cast a spell for your safe travel. First, a penny offering for your safe passage through time and space. Be sure to donate it to someone in need along your way. It's not much, but it will attract more. Now, a piece of malachite to clear your path of obstacles and bumps. Some tiger's eye to give you strength and confidence. A sprig of sage for clear thinking and wise decision making, of course, and to empower all the other elements and optimize their protective energies. That's what the sage will do. And lastly, we will need a sprig of rosemary. And, oh, yes, almost forgot, a personal item. Hand me that ring on your right hand. Yes. Yes, thank you. Yes. Okay. Now, this is your travel bag. Hold this tight against you as you go on your way, chanting, "By the light of the Mother Moon, I'll reach my destination soon. The journey shall be peaceful and worry-free as my next mission prepares for and welcomes me." Good night. Go in peace, in wisdom, and in clarity, and in hope.